Hello and welcome to the FloodLight podcast, the Flood Church Mzuzu podcast, where we take each Sunday sermon and break it down and also talk about how our faith actually works in real life. And this week, we're exploring how being mission-minded is a foundation for our faith. And who better to talk to than the resident missionary? And so I'm Pastor Theo, and with me today is Pastor Dali.
Yeah.
Awesome.
What's up?
Nice to have you on the other chair today.
This is the only chair I want. I do not want.
Fun fact.
Never again.
Fun fact, we told Pastor Dali that he has to host, and he hosted once, and he said, guys, I don't want to do this again.
Never.
So here I am.
This is better. But I hope I do a good job here.
Okay.
Because if I don't do a good job here, then it's good.
We're kicking you out for good.
It's fine. It's okay.
But welcome to the pod.
Thank you.
And I want to explore, you are, what I would call a missionary at home.
Okay.
Because you're kind of like a missionary who didn't leave the country,
Yeah.
but you're still not at your home,
Yeah.
right here. And so I want to start off with, why Mzuzu? Is this a place you chose to come to? How did you get here? Yeah, and all of that.
Now that's interesting because I posted a TikTok the other day that said no one wants to be in Zuzu. You know what I'm saying? It's not a place I chose.
Yeah.
Just a backstory. I came here not for flood. I came here to work with an organization called Young Life. And so at the time I was finishing college. It was in 2016. So I was getting done with college. I'm about to look for what is next, what's about to happen. And I was already serving with Young Life. And I'd been praying to God, say, God, what are you saying next? And I remember very clearly, it was on a Sunday, I was going to church, Flood Lilongwe. I was on a bazaar. At the time, we were meeting in Chimaliro. We're in Chimaliro, my bad. We're meeting in Crossroads.
Crossroads.
And I got on a bazaar on my way to church, and God just like planted Mzuzu. And I said, no. I remember saying, God, no, that's not happening. That's not happening. And because at school, I used to tease a lot of my friends from Zuzu. To say, welcome to town, show them around. And then I would pray about it, but I was, like every single time, I'm like, God, I don't want to go to that place. And then my boss at Young Life at the time, as I was finishing school, she approached me and said, hey, we want you to come on full-time staff, be praying about it. And then the whole Zuzu thing came up again, internally, and I feel like that was the Holy Spirit. I said, no, again, I don't want. Then one time, I think I gathered the courage, I went to her house. And she was by some room. I was by the window there. I'm like, hey, I think God is asking me to pray about Mzuzu. And then she stopped what she was doing. She looked back at me. She's like, dude, we've been praying about who should we send to Mzuzu. And the entire time I was asking you to come on staff, I didn't know what to do with you in Lilongwe because there's no space for you in Lilongwe. So that was like the confirmation for me to come to Mzuzu. And even coming to Zuzu was a whole journey on its own. But just to just answer you, I never wanted to come here. But here we are. So, yeah.
Okay, well, I think I'm loving that you touched on your TikTok, because that's where I was also going to go on, of like, part of your TikTok was talking about of like, oh, God just does what he wants to do. So I'm kind of like, what's been sort of the hardest thing for you to be in this city and serving God in this city, but also how do you find the balance between, hey, I have the potential to do so much more elsewhere, but this is where God wants me to be?
I think that's been a wrestle I've had ever since I came here, because you can imagine I'm finishing school and everybody is discussing on what to do next, and everybody's flourishing, or they seem to be flourishing. And I'm out here saying my my journey or my calling is this church or ministry thing, you know. And so I would go back to Lilong. I remember one time I went to a friend's house, we were in the same class, and fam, he seemed eons away from me, man. And so that's been the wrestle for me to see my peers are way ahead of me, like status-wise, financial-wise, and just life-wise. And I'm still stuck here. You know, I'll get people sending me applications. Hey, can you try apply here, try apply there? And I'm just like, my season here is not finished. You know what I'm saying? That's the thing about calling. My season here is not finished. And it's one of those where when it's finished, I guess I will know. But when it's not finished, I can't move. There's a time my own mom sent me like an application during the first years I moved here. To say, hey, can you try apply for World Vision? She was working at World Vision at the time, and they were looking for a communications person, and I studied communications, so it just seemed right.
Yeah.
You know, and at the time, money wasn't money. You know, ministry. You know, I'm trying to find it hard to do things, because I remember my parents moved from the house we were renting any longer to the house they were building, because the landlord had raised the rent with like 100%. So my dad said, I'd rather live in my own house that is not finished than. So now I have saved up the little money I was getting. I saved up for like a couple of months to get a gas cooker. And so then I go get the gas cooker. I'm happy. During that time, I get a mavuta, you know. And then my parents moved into this unfinished house with solar. And so I had to send them that gas cooker I had saved up for to them. And so I think my mom was just like, hey, what are this? You know. So I applied for this thing, and it was good paying job, very good paying job. But I was just like, I couldn't even tell her to say my season here, because that language is the ministry language. You know?
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I didn't apply. A friend of mine from ABC got the job, and he later quit the job. I think it was 2 or 3 years later.
Yeah.
And he started his own furniture business. And he told me straight to say, hey man, that job could have killed me because of how intense it was, how like the deliverables and everything. And so I was just thinking to myself, like, if I took that job, that's where I would have been, you know?
Yeah.
But like calling has that thing where if it's God saying, my guy, I need you to jump and keep jumping up until I tell you to stop. People think you're crazy because you're just jumping.
True. That's true.
But he knows why he's asking you to do that. And so I don't know if I've answered your question, but like that's God doing his own thing, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So like the idea of, you know, like you're saying, God asks you to jump and therefore you jump. Why do you think being mission minded in a way helps you within is kind of like a foundation for your faith, like we're put it as?
I think it's something we should be. I don't think it's something we naturally are. I don't think we're naturally mission minded. I think as a people, we get to the faith, we're excited, and we want other people to come to the faith as well. But I think that's like the natural inkling of, you've heard this good news about Jesus, you want other people to hear the good news. Now, like having it as a strategy now to say, I want to be mission minded, I don't think it's something we have. I think we get scared. We get scared because, I mean, we see the examples of as Busadaima Gunsika, we think that's mission minded. We hear the stories of people coming from outside the country into our country. And we have people who come to our church who've like left their home countries that flood because they're on mission in that nature. And that seems like you're outside your comfort zone. So I think we don't have it because it is outside our comfort zone. But I think if we are going to be Christians in a sense of going out into the world, making disciples, our strategy should always be, how can I be missional? Just basically where I am. You know what I'm saying? Not necessarily having to go outside or Kunchito, how are you going to be missional there? You know, Kuskuru, how are you going to be missional there? Around your friends, how are you going to be missional there? You know, because I believe the invitation is to make disciples. You know, going is where you're going to do or make disciples, but the invitation from Jesus in that passage is to make disciples. You know, and so as you go, make disciples. The question is, where are you going to go? You go to church, you go to work, you go to school, you go to be with your friends. Make disciples. So then the strategy there is not like you and I having a meeting. It's just basically you knowing that you are a witness of Jesus. And so the life you live means it's missional in its sense. And so then I gave this example the other day at a Bible study I was at to say, as Jesus works on your heart, the conversation is no longer what can I do and what can't I do. The conversation is, how can I witness about Jesus to these people? Now that's where the strategy comes in, to say, what can I witness about Jesus? You know, frame at Zorozoro. How can I witness? You know, or wherever it is that she's working on that day. You go to that place, and that is your missional strategy.
I actually like that, because I think I remember part of my journey moving to Mzuzu was...
Oh, but you also had to...
Yes.
Hey.
There's a whole thing.
I remember that day. I remember the conversation. You should actually be here. Huh?
I know. Part of my story is basically Pastor Dali, Pastor Humphreys ambushing me in a car and just saying,
Kelvin was in the car as well.
Yes, Kelvin was in that car as well. So these 3 men ambushed me and said, hey, so just move to Mzuzu and be part. And the funny thing was that I had just gotten into the car.
Yeah.
And already it was, Humphreys says, Sophia, what would you think about coming to Mzuzu and working for Flood Mzuzu? And then you go, yeah, this is your position. Like you'd be this.
Bro.
And I was like, you guys have already thought this through. I don't even know if my yes or no makes sense here. But I think I remember that after that conversation, when I got back home that night, I remember telling my mom and being like, hey, so Pastor Humphreys and Pastor Dali said this. And, you know, I don't know. And like the words Pastor Humphreys said was, hey, pray about this if this is something. And I remember saying to my mom, I was like, oh, he said I need to pray about this. And my mom looked at me and laughed and he said, what exactly are you praying for? And I was like, I don't know, to move here. And she's like, well, your prayer has been, Lord, use me. Now he's showing you where he wants to use you and you want to pray about it again. And I was like, oh, okay. That, you know, that makes sense. And I think to just bring that in of like, you, when you come to Christ, you are the mission of Christ, right? So then it's kind of like, instead of praying of like, Lord, how then do I miss? It's just like, hey, live in those spaces, be in those spaces. And so, so I really like that. But also I wonder, how has your own faith grown by you saying yes to God's mission?
So that's yeah, that's like, it's an everyday thing, man. Like, it's an everyday thing. Like, there's this song by Kayan Tetwa, and we worship. There's a group from South Africa, and I remember it being a seasonal song for me, because there's been moments as I have done this thing where I just feel empty. I just feel like, what am I doing here? Oh Lord, what are you doing? If you don't move, nothing's happening. You know, and so it's put me in a place where I fully depend on God. Like when we preached that series, it was Dependent series we preached. Do you guys remember?
Which one was it?
Fully Dependent? Something? There was a Dependent series we preached.
Was it this year?
Nta, you should know this. You've been the one putting the playlist.
Was it this year?
It was either this year or last year. Fully Dependent or something like that.
Oh, okay. I'm blanking out, but yes.
But I think that series for me was basically me coming up with like, yo, dependent on God, yes. It was me saying, yo, I can't do this without God. Like I literally cannot do this without, like, God, I'm going to that space. We're going to pray for us to have church in that space. I can't do this without you. Like, God, the money is not looking right. Like the money right now is not looking right. There's a time, Anabwera housing, Landi Tamangisa. And you know, I didn't know what I was in Tamangisa. Like they're coming to chase me from the house, but they came in one of those. My dad called me. I was one of our friends' houses. My dad calls me and says, "Hey, I got a call from Malawi Housing. They say you should go to the office." You know, I went to the office, and they're like, "Hey, man, you're living illegally in our house." I said, "No, I'm not. I sent in because the guy who used to live in the house sadly passed away. But because I knew him, we had presented papers for change of ownership to happen. You know." And so they're like, no, you're living in a house legally. You need to move by month end. And so then I said, you know what? I know this guy's daughter. Don't worry. I'll bring them up. So the guy's daughter came and we spoke to the guys. And they're like, okay, Kai, if you guys want to continue living in the house, that's fine. So I told her, I said, hey, do you want to still stay in the house? She's like, no, you can keep it. But at the same time, we used to do Bible study. And the church started from a Bible study group. Timajeba. I mean, Timajuluga nyumba imajeba. And so at the same time, I know that we need a bigger house for Bible study, but I have nowhere else to go. I also don't have money to find another house. You know, the amount of money I'm paying in this house is a boys' quarter somewhere. And so I have a car, I have all these things. I'm gonna move to a boys' quarters. You know, and so then they said we're gonna come for a routine checkup. 2-bedroom Malawi housing house. 9 people came in to check the house. So then I called my dad. I'm like, hey, they came and about 9. My dad is like, no, that's not a checkup. They're pushing you out. I need you to find another house.
Whoa.
I was in that season where I'm just like, if I don't find another house by month end, I'm done. So that's been my been my story, literally. To say if we don't depend on God, and you know, we're looking for church space. We look everywhere. We even go to a place of saying we'll be meeting in someone's backyard.
It's true. That's true.
And then last minute, this place I had gone to that had chains on it, someone says, oh, that's actually my uncle. Go talk to him. And the uncle says, yeah, you can meet. You can just send me air or money. I'm like, what are you talking about? Now we're in that space. And we got chased from that space. Again, God, we are here. So basically, this life is, you can't like if you don't have God as your everything, then I don't know what it is that you're doing.
Yeah.
Or you show me what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know, because I'm
Yeah.
showing you like we are here because of God. So yeah, man.
Yeah, I really love that. I think I know the sentiment of, I feel like my dependency on God has also grown since moving here.
Yeah.
And I think especially dealing with the church, because I remember chatting with Tamara, who used to work for the church
Yeah.
once, and we had a chat because that season the church had no money, but we needed to pay our interns.
Bro.
And I was kind
How
of
many
like,
months is that our story?
exactly. And I was
Bro.
just like, I was literally like, I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And this was towards the end of the year. So now it's like, this is
Wow.
December.
Yeah.
These
Yeah.
people are expecting their money so they can go do December somewhere,
Bruh.
And I don't know where the money is going to come from. And I
Yeah.
remember chatting with her and she said, hey, I don't think there's ever a season where we've completely lacked or like God hasn't, come
Come through
through.
for us.
So she
Yeah.
was like, money will come through. And like at the time I looked at her sideways like, okay, that's what you're going to tell me now.
Yeah.
Like, I'm stressing here. But literally like 2 hours from that conversation, someone gave in money that helped us to pay our interns. And it was one of those where I was like, this can't be anything else but
Yeah.
God, because I didn't have the conversation with this person
Yeah.
to say, hey, give us money so we can pay it. No, they just tithed. And
Yeah.
that was it. And so for me, it was like, it's been that of
Yeah.
like, hey, I think God cares deeply about his mission that
Yeah.
he will then continuously provide.
Yeah.
And my job is to be dependent
He will build his church.
on it. Exactly.
Literally.
He will depend. My job is to be dependent. Like I always bring this up of like my landlord, when we were moving in, which we used to live in the same compound, and so we had the same landlord.
Yeah.
She had the phrase of like his vision, his provision.
Amen.
And I think I stand by that heavily of just like, yeah, God has a way of providing for his mission, of seeking out his mission. So being mission minded has a way to grow your faith in different ways. So I'm thinking of that, of what would be your advice to somebody who's thinking, hey, wondering whether this is something they should do, and not just in like their simple everyday lives, but feeling like I think God's calling me to a specific place. To move or to make these big moves, big decisions.
Now I always think God has this thing where if you do not do what he's asking you to do, you're going to find life a little difficult. Not because God is mean or anything, but because you are simply living outside his will. I've seen it for myself. Like, I'm not saying you say yes to God, everything's going to be easy. No. But when you say yes to God, it's simply saying, God, I am depending on you. I have relinquished all my self-dependence, and I'm going to depend on you. Which means wherever he takes you, you go there. Wherever he keeps you, he'll keep you there, And so I would always tell someone like that to say, that is not your own inkling, so you're in a good space. Like, and obey God. Whatever the case is, obey God. Pray about it, obviously, but obey God. And sometimes sometimes we want to go ask for advice all over the place. And the people we're asking for advice are people who know that your idea is not the best. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was thinking the other day, when we were deciding to plant Flood in Zuzu, one, we were planting right outside COVID. Two, we don't really have money to plant a church here. Three, you and I are not from here.
At all.
You know what I'm saying? We're not from Zuzu. We're just we've been in this city, but God is saying something about this city. We had a budget meeting, which we under budgeted so much so
heavily. It's so
that
embarrassing.
now it's like laughable.
Yeah.
And you think about all those things and you're like, we're still here though. People used to tell us, I used to hear people say, Zuzu is one of those places where it's tough ground for churches. And I used to be scared. I'm like, hey guys, what's going to happen to us? People won't come and everything. And then I remember at the time, God just convicted me to say, hey, I will build my church. It's not about you, it's not about anybody else. I will build my church. And I remember I was watching this pastor I'm following in South Africa, Pastor Koketso. He's a lead pastor of Muso Church. And one of the things he was saying is he was actually in a space where he was doing work elsewhere, but there was just this thing where God is just like, hey, I'm inviting you to this. And it was the same for me. I remember it's like Mzuzu, bro. I was like, dude, I studied media. My plan was to go work for MTV Base. That was my goal. That was my dream. My dream was to go to South Africa, work for MTV Base, work for Viacom, thrive in that sector. But God was like, no, Mzuzu. from Zuzu. And somehow here we are. You guys are watching us on this podcast because of that. So
Yeah.
if there's just an inkling in your heart that God is just like, hey, I need you to do this, just like drop your tools and obey him. Nafi last week gave the best example about Abraham and Isaac.
Yeah.
You know, I was texting her the other day. I was like, hey man, you were very spiritual and you did the things,
Yeah.
because that's just what obedience is about, and that's what being mission is about. You just drop your tools and trust God.
Yeah.
Just trust him. You don't know where the next offering is gonna come from, but it's his church. You know, he'll be embarrassed himself. It's not up to us.
It's true.
It's on
That's
him.
true.
So that's what I would encourage somebody. You know, even you people in the room right now. You know, my people. Look, don't fix the cameras. I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you. Icon, Tanganyika, Frema. I'm talking to you people. Obey Jesus.
Yes. But yeah, I think it's just I feel like it heavily resonates because I feel like you and I can sit and talk about how our histories have intertwined heavily.
Oh, yeah.
And just like I think we've been I always say of like if has always felt like somehow God prepared me to work with you in this of like the very first time I think I remember working with you was when you started a youth ministry at Flood, and we would meet at Kyle Healy's house with like teenagers and all of that.
That's
and like
crazy.
at the time, it was just like, yeah, we're doing this fun thing,
Youth group.
you know. Yeah, we did that youth group, and then after that, like I joined you with the Zonsa Live stuff, and then we did all of that, and that's always been great. And I think for me, that's always been the encouragement of like, there's how you run with your yes from God. Because I also remember back in college when you had just come back from the States, from your trip to the States with Flood, and you were heavily on I'm just going deep into ministry. And it was like you've never talked like this before. Like what, you know? And like to a certain point, it felt like it's gonna fade, you know? He's just on the high of working from a church and, you know? But it's like, no. And I think that's like the thing of like going back to obedience of like, you know, you just gotta obey. Like there's always has to be that point of like, hey, my first point is obedience to God. And so where he's saying I go, I then just head off and go. But also within that, I want to know of like, I think we always talk a lot about like the sacrifice and the heaviness of obedience or being mission minded and going. But I also want to know what have been the joys for you of being in the mission field.
I'm not gonna cry.
It's okay.
But
you can cry.
These guys in front of me, those are the joys. Where I met Frema when he was a secondary school student, you know, and he's here now. Look at him, serving in church, gave his life to Christ, and same. I met Nta at a video shoot, a music video shoot, KOK and Tegrin. I remember that day because I was running away from Nathan Jones because you Zonse Life people had said something, and so I was trying to hide from him that day. And then I met Nta there. She was with Nta used to be like a celebrity back in the day, and so she was with her people there, and I met her there. And she has a best friend. I've shared the story like with people who I know, but like God had placed it on my heart to pray for her. For some reason, it's just like, yo, just pray for her, because I realized that the industry is like a really dangerous place, you know. But the other thing was like pray for her to know Christ, you know. And then coincidentally, her mom moved to Zuzu. She moved to Zuzu, and I was reminding her the other week that we met for a meeting. And she was just like, I don't want to talk to this guy. I don't. You know, one of those things. I even told my wife, like, yo, I met Nta, but she's being standoffish. You know, she's like, no, you men. So she's probably trying to protect herself. I'm like, I understand. But like seeing her serve God, seeing her give her life to Jesus, those are the joys. Like for me, we go to the outreaches, and you know how much money we lose, bro. Like we don't. If we charged tickets.
We would be millionaires.
We would be millionaires right now. You know, but like we do all those things because we want these young people to come to know Jesus. And for me, those are the joys. You come to church, you serve with people you love, you see the people you love growing, and nothing can replace that feeling. Like nothing can replace that feeling. And you know that I'm praying for this person, you know, and you're hoping and you're trusting God. And sometimes you pray for them and they take 2 steps forward, 5 steps back. But there's just that one time they'll come to you and say, hey, you know that it's the Holy Spirit. It's not you. And for me, that is, like, no one can replace that feeling. Ever. That's why for me, it's always, up until God says, hey, your season in Zuzu is done. You will still have less about boots, put on our backpacks, and it's time to ride.
Yeah.
Whatever that great song says. Yeah.
Yeah.
So those are the joys for me.
I love that, because I think I had this same thing of like a couple weeks ago. After church, I was chatting with a friend, and he said of just like he would randomly talking about, oh, I had said to him of like, hey, I really love, your nonverbal responses during a sermon. And I said, every time I'm preaching, I kind of look to your side to know that it's landing, because you always have this facial expressions and you react with your body literally. And so randomly we started talking, and he said, oh no, I really like enjoyed your sermons and just the sermons here. And like, he started talking about how much his life has changed and just his mindset changing. And he's like, no, there's like, he started quoting to me certain things that even I don't remember that I ever said. And it's like, no, but you said this, and Pastor Dali said this, and Gary said this. And like, I remind myself of like, oh, this is how I should live. And if I'm trying to go wrong, I remember these words and I come back. And I thought, wow, okay, so something's happening here. Like, God is doing, a great
sometimes
work.
you forget.
Exactly. You forget. And so for me, it's also just that of like, I think there's like, we need to talk about the sacrifice of mission or of obedience.
No, it's there.
But I think we also need to talk about the joy of obedience. That I think there's nothing that can replace your yes in God, like living in your yes in God. Like you're saying of like, if you live, like you can live outside his will, you can go ahead and do that, but you won't thrive as you would if you were,
in his will.
His will. And so, I think that's a good point to end it at. Okay. Exactly. So it's like, don't only fear that, bad things will happen, but also look to that, hey, in obedience, in being mission-minded, in going where God asks you to go, there is joy, there is fullness of joy, there is peace, there is love. And like, God covers you in a way that you wouldn't experience if you didn't say yes and you didn't go. So I hope that this spurs you on to go ahead, go and be in that mission field, whether it's within your home or it's outside of your home. Go ahead and do that because Jesus said to do it. Then go ahead and do that because there is so much good for you in there. There's hardship, but there's good as well.
Joy.
So thank you, Pastor Dali, for being here, sharing with us your story.
You're welcome.
Yeah, we hope you're going to be here again
on this seat,
soon.
on this chair. Never.
Sure.
I still got joy in chaos.
But we thank you so much for being here. And thank you for watching. And we hope you're going to be here again next week for another episode of the FloodLight podcast. But I've been your host.
I'm excited for next week's episode, by the way.
Yes, next week we've got such a good episode. We've got I want to say it, but I also feel like I want to tease it out, and so I'm not going to say it. But I'm going to say we've got a really good episode. We've got someone really amazing coming to the podcast, so you better catch next week's episode as well. Like and share. Tell your friends to tell their friends about this podcast, and remember to subscribe to our channels. But we love you. Grace and peace. Your love is all around me. All around me, all around me. Yeah, yo.
You see why I love sitting here?
Yeah, thank you very much. I hear you.
He is always gentle with me when I run.